Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nasalli ala Rasulil Kareem amma ba'd. Our today's topic is how to produce negation in Jumla Ismiya. How to make Jumla Ismiya negative. We have already said Hamid is good. How are we going to say in Arabic Hamid is not good? For this purpose, there are certain particles which we add before Jumla Ismiya. There are 5 of them written here. Today, we are only going to focus on ma. The use of others is associated with certain conditions and regulations. At this point in time, we have not covered basic Arabic grammar enough to go into details of those. So we said Hamid is good. Hamidun Hasanun, simple. Mubtada khabar. In Rafa, in Rafa. Now we want to say Hamid is not good. So all we have to do is to add ma before this Jumla Ismiya. So I'm sure you have noticed when we add ma, the khabar of this sentence goes into nasab, goes in the state of nasab. It doesn't remain in rafa anymore. So we say ma hamidun hasanan. Hamid is not good. Now, if we want to emphasize that fact further, that Hamid is not good at all, what we do is we simply add ba before the khabar. So what we then say is ma hamidun bihasanin. You have noticed that ma has shown its Arabic influence here and our khabar has gone into jar, but in the translation we are not literally going to translate ba here. Ba harfe jar means with, but here this ba is just a particle of emphasis and we are not going to translate this as such. So ma hamidun bihasanin, Hamid is not good at all. Let's look at this example from Quran. You remember when Azize Misr asked her friends, ladies, she invited them and prepared a banquet for them. And then she asked Prophet Yusuf to come over. And that's Surah number 12 and ayah number 31 of Surah Yusuf. And when those women saw him, they said, Hasha lillahi ma haza basharan. Good God, this is not a man. In haza malakun karimun. Rather, he is a noble angel. So this is a simple negation here. Ma haza basharan. So from basharon, this noun has gone into nasab, and our sentence here is ma haza basharan. This is not a man, or this is not mortal. There are different translations. As compared to angel, this is not mortal. If that should have been further emphasized, for example, that may have been then ma haza basharin. This is not a man at all, but clearly that would not be Quran. There's another example here from Surah Baqarah. This is ayah number 8 of Surah Baqarah, Surah number 2. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. There are those who say we believe in Allah and the last day, the day of judgment, but وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ, but they are not believers at all. So ma hum mu'minina, and that will be they are not believers. Ma hum bimu'minina, they're not believers at all. So hum mu'minuna, that will be in rafa the khabar, hum mu'minina, because of ma hum mu'minina, that will be in nasab, and here with because of this ba, we will consider this to be in jar. So wama hum bimuminina, they are not believers at all. So what is that description of? That's a description of hypocrites. They say what they are, but actually they are not what they say they are. We have another example from Quran here. This is Surah Qalam, ayah number 2. Ma anta bi ni'mati rabbika bi majnunin. With the grace of your God, your Lord, you are not a madman at all. So if you see here, the basic sentence here is anta majnunun. Anta mubtada, majnunun khabar. Translation will be you are a madman or you are possessed. Then we add ma in it, and that will become ma anta majnunan. You are not a madman or you are not possessed. And if we want to further emphasize, as it is emphasized here in the ayah in Quran, ma anta bimajnunin, you are not a madman at all. And that has been added here, that phrase bini'mati rabbika, with the grace of your Lord. If we can analyze this ayah, it will be easy for us to analyze at this point in time, because we have covered enough of basic Arabic grammar. So ma is harf nafi, particle of negation. Anta, because here anta is mubtada. Here, because we are starting our jumla with ma, so that's not really our starting point. Mubtada is starting point. When ma has come before this, the terminology changes, as it happens in the case of inna. So ma anta. So anta here then becomes ismu ma, which was originally our mubtada. Bimajnunin, that's khabruma. Rather than calling it just khabar, we're now calling it khabruma, khabar of ma. So ma anta bimajnunin, you are not a madman at all. And then bini'mati rabbika, that's a phrase. There is one phrase and there's another phrase in phrase. Rabbika, we know Rab mudaf and ka zamir is mudaf ilayh, and that murakkab izafi becomes mudaf ilayh of this mudaf. So that should be ni'matun, and because of being mudaf, you lose tanween. So, and because of ba, it has gone into jar. So ne'mati mudaf, and this mudaf ilayh is that murakkab idafi is no mudaf ilayh for this mudaf, and then whole of this construction becomes majroor for this harf jar, and in the jumla, in the sentence, it is mutallaq khabar. So we have harf nafi, ismu ma, khabru ma, and mutallaq khabar. They combine to make jumla ismiya khabariya. Clearly, the default structure of jumla ismiya is this. You have, in the absence of this, for example, you have mubtada, you have khabar, and then you have mutallaq khabar. But then, for various reasons, either to make the your prose eloquent, elegant, to attract people, or rhyme with other sentences, and sometimes actually to produce further emphasis, because compared to this is more important. So that brings further emphasis in it, that's what it is. What they are saying is not true. That is the truth. That is the reality. I have another particle we are going to address to some extent law. I said we're not going to cover law today, but this is a special type of law. It is called la nafiyatu lil jins. That translation would be that law of negation of a genus, law of negation of the whole category of something. In Arabic grammars which are written in Urdu, they tend to use Persian phrase and say lae nafiye jins. It's the same meaning. This law, let's look at an example, then that will make sense. For example, this sentence, la yaksibu muslimun. This is verb, so this is jumla failure. I know we have not worked on jumla failure yet, but then to make this point here, this means la yaksibu muslimun. A Muslim does not lie. And then this construction, la muslima kazzabun, that means no Muslim whosoever, whether old, young, man, woman, child, boy, girl, they are not liar. So la muslima kazzabun, no Muslim whosoever is a liar. And where do we get that from? If we look at this noun, we'll see this noun is in nasab. This noun is nakira. And this noun does not have tanween either. So if a law is followed by a noun with these qualities, with these characters, that the ism will be in nasab, nakira, and without tanween, that law will be law nafiyatu lil jins. That basically means that that law will negate all this from the khabar of this mubtada. So from the khabar of this mubtada, persons, entity, the genus, that has been negated from the khabar. Let us look at another example. For example, la munafika mahbubun. None of the hypocrites, it doesn't matter who the hypocrite is, young, old, man, woman, child, whoever, and whatever their religion is, for example, and whatever their education level is, etc., etc. So la munafika, none of the hypocrites are favorite or favorable or lovable or popular, mahbubun. So that is again an example of la nafiya lil jins, just it goes with this noun as far as its construction is concerned. Let's look at another example, la rajula fiddari. There is no man whatsoever at home. That means there may be women at home, but from the genus of men, there is no man, whether men clean shaved or with a beard or old or young, none of the men is present at home. And we look at examples of Quran that will further elaborate it. This is Surah Baqarah, right at the beginning. Alif Lam Mim, Zalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fihi. This is the book in which there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever. So it's not Raybun, it's not Rayban, it's not Raybin, it's not Al Raybu, Al Rayba, Al Raybi. But this noun has been used without tanween in nasab and it is indefinite. So la raiba, there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever. That will be the way to translate it. Translation becomes difficult really, but that's if you try to bring the correct meaning in a translation, whichever language you use, you will use these kind of words. So fihi in this means fil Quran. There is absolutely no doubt whatsoever. That's another ayah from Surah Baqarah, ayah number 256. La ikraha fid din. In religion, there is absolutely no compulsion whatsoever. So that's again law of la nafiya lil jins. Then la ilaha illallah. There is absolutely no ilah, no one worthy of worship except Allah. So I hope that has all made sense to you. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.